This morning I went to a courthouse that I usually don't go to. I'm there occasionally, and every now and then when I'm there, I'm struck by how how miserable and rude many of the people are in the courthouse. So I went there for a very simple reason. I have two hearings scheduled on the same day in different courts. Same day, same time. So I can't do both. So I went to one court simply to inform the court that I can't make the one hearing and just ask for it to be rescheduled. It's the sort of thing that happens all the time. But the attitude from the people I had to deal with, you would think that it never happened, right? And that it was the biggest burden on earth when it took probably 30 seconds in front of the judge to have it all rescheduled. It wasn't such a big deal. And I thought I'd make a video talking about bureaucracy, because if you are a lawyer or if you're representing yourself pro se, you need to prepare yourself to deal with multiple layers of bureaucracy. So in the criminal world, you obviously have to deal with the court, all right, the judge, the clerk, the district attorney, the probation officer, the court officers. If your guy is detained, you have to deal with the sheriff's department at the county jail or the Department of Corrections. And it's just layer on top of layer on top of layer of bureaucracy. And every bureaucracy has its own way of doing things, its own procedures, and every bureaucrat has, the dozen to 2 dozen different regulations or laws that they work with regularly. And often, not always, but often, the bureaucrat will treat you as if you're supposed to know his job or her job as well as he or she knows it. It's one of the most obnoxious things about dealing with government. But you need to be ready for that attitude because you will encounter it. So first, recognize that bureaucracy is everywhere. Just to give you another, if you deal in real estate, say, you've got to deal with the registry of deeds, possibly the land court or registered land, depending on how the property is recorded, perhaps the secretary of state. Maybe you need a death certificate. You need to go through the city's clerk. All right. Again, layer upon layer of bureaucracy. So it's everywhere. You need to be aware of that. And you just need to accept that as a reality. You need to keep your composure because I believe some of these people are, I don't know what it is. If they have personal problems or if they're just bored, they want to provoke you and aggravate you. And the best response you can have to that is to just keep your composure, stay professional, and don't get down in the mud and fight with them. I believe in some cases that's what they want. So don't give that to them. If you don't know what you're doing, then I would say you want to disarm them right away and just say, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm new to this, can you explain this to me, whatever it is, so that they don't kind of lord over you, that they know their job but you don't, right? Because I think they like that feeling. So don't give that to them either. Tell them, I don't know how to do this, or I'm new to this, or whatever, and try to disarm them up front. And then lastly, you should keep in mind that in many cases, they don't know what they're talking about, all right? In most cases they do, but occasionally they don't, all right? And they'll speak to you as if they know for certain what they're saying, all right? And they'll lead you down the wrong path and not think anything of it. I'll give you one example. I had a client detained after a bail hearing, so I appealed, and we went to Superior Court to have it reheard. This was a few days later. Now, the jail will bring the defendant to that hearing, to the bail review hearing. So on the day of the hearing, I went down into the holding cells to talk to my client. And the court officer goes, no, we never bring the defendants here for the bail review. Now I know they do, but he said it to me with certainty, as if I should know and as if he knew. So I went up to the clerk's office and I said, the bail, or the court officer said that my client's not in holding and that they don't bring them for the hearing. And the clerk kind of rolled her eyes and said, with equal certainty, all right, the bus is late. The sheriff's bus that's transporting the defendants, it's late. He's on the bus. He'll appear, momentarily. Okay, so the bus shows up. He's not on it. I go in. I speak to the court clerk, and she says, your client has COVID, and he's being quarantined, and he can't come to today's hearing. So I say, okay, well, that's believable, and they said it to me like they knew. It turns out all of them were wrong, and that my client had paid his bail and gotten out of jail and just never informed me. All right, so the court officer told me something that wasn't true with a straight face, as if he knew. The clerk, again, told me with a straight face that she knew something, that the guy was coming on the bus, he wasn't. And then inside the court, they told me he has COVID. He didn't. All right, so be aware that just because the bureaucrat tells you one thing, all right, and they say it with all kinds of authority, it doesn't mean that they're right. Okay, if you have questions, if you have thoughts about bureaucracy, leave comments below, and if you have questions for me, send me an email.